The sky was a violent swirl of colors, deep violet and molten gold twisting over the crystal city of. Rain fell sideways, whipped by alien winds bouncing off the polished metal streets. And in the middle of it all, a lone figure stumbled through the chaos. His boots were soaked, his clothes torn, but his eyes were fixed on the throne that shone atop the palace like a beacon of impossible hope. "Wait," he shouted, his voice cracking. I belong there." No one answered. Only the hiss of the rain and the soft hum of alien energy from the palace walls. But he didn't step back. He had come here across the stars, across dangers he couldn't even describe to anyone, just to stand before her, the queen of. She sat there, regal and untouchable, a crown of light hovering above her hair, her eyes like galaxies that could swallow a man whole. And yet in those endless eyes he saw a flicker of something fragile, a momentary question, a whisper of loneliness. "Who dares?" a voice rang out, calm but commanding, resonating through the storm. The guards, sleek and silver-skinned, raised weapons that shimmered with energy. "I do," the human said, planting his soaked feet firmly on the ground. I claim my place." A ripple ran through the crowd. Not shock, not fear, but confusion. To them, humans were myths, legends, tiny, fragile creatures who barely survived on their own planet. And here one of them, this soaked, stubborn, defiant human, stood before their queen as if he had every right. The queen rose. Every movement was precise, almost surgical. Her gown of liquid crystal flowed around her like water caught in sunlight. She looked at him, and for the first time she didn't see a human. She saw a choice, a danger, a possibility. "You dare to claim me?" she said softly, almost a whisper, but it carried across the square. "You dare to step forward knowing what you face?" "I do," he said again, louder this time, his chest heaving. "I have crossed your worlds, fought storms that would have broken your finest warriors, faced creatures you wouldn't even name to me, and I am still here. I am still standing, because I will not let you rule alone, because," he faltered, his throat tight, "because I love you." The words hung in the air, fragile as glass, yet heavier than any weapon. A gasp rose from the crowd. The queen froze as if someone had dropped a stone into her heart. Love, from a human, the concept was absurd, dangerous, but her chest ached. The pain was sharp, like she had been holding her own heart in chains for centuries, and now someone else had touched it. "You cannot," she said finally, her voice breaking with a mix of authority and something raw, almost human herself. "It is forbidden. No human, no outsider may," her words faltered. She took a step closer. "And yet you are not afraid." He shook his head, drenched hair plastered to his face. "Afraid? Afraid of standing for the one I choose, afraid of loving you even if the universe says I should. No, I am not afraid. I belong to you. If you will have me, I am yours. If not, then I will die trying to protect you anyway." The guards shifted uneasily. Murmurs ran through the crowd. To them he was suicidal. To him he was alive for the first time. The queen's lips trembled. She turned, scanning her people, her advisors, her court. They were all waiting, watching, judging. She could see their fear, their disbelief. And yet, for a moment, she saw something else. Hope. A human, fragile and defiant, standing unbroken against a galaxy that had told him he could never belong. Then a deep voice, alien, layered, resonant, echoed from above. It wasn't her voice. It was the decree, the ancient law of enshrined in energy and ritual. Let the claimant speak, let the heart decide. The queen's eyes widened. The law, the very law that had forbidden outsiders, humans, everything, was bending. Somehow, impossibly, the decree was listening. The human looked at her, drenched, exhausted, but unyielding, his chest heaving, his hands clenched. I claim you. I claim my place, not for power, not for glory, for you." And in that instant, the wind seemed to pause. The storm above softened. Even the crystal walls of the palace vibrated with anticipation, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. For the first time in centuries, the queen felt something she had thought impossible. A spark of reckless, unstoppable emotion, and it terrified her. The storm had calmed, but the tension in the palace square was thicker than ever. The guards' weapons lowered slightly, but their eyes burned with suspicion. Whispers rippled through the crowd like small sparks racing through dry grass. "Who is this human? How dare he?" The queen stood frozen, her gaze locked on him. Every instinct screamed at her to turn him away, to banish him before the court could see the chaos his presence could cause. Yet her heart, stubborn, rebellious, impossible, beat in rhythm with his words. "He claims me. A human claims me." "You speak boldly," she said, her voice steady now, but inside she trembled. "You do not understand the weight of your claim. The laws of this throne are not for humans." "I understand more than you think," he said, his voice low but unwavering. "I have seen death and despair in my own world. I have fought monsters that would crush your guards in seconds, and I have loved someone I barely knew, and that is you." Gasps ran through the court. Some covered their mouths in shock, others exchanged incredulous glances. A human daring to speak of love for the queen? Some of the older advisors whispered that he would die before sunset. Some of the younger ones wondered secretly if there was magic in him. The queen took a step forward. Her crown shimmered in the sunlight breaking through the storm clouds. "Love, you speak of love as if it can protect me, as if it can defend a throne that has been carved by blood and decree for thousands of years. Love cannot survive here. You cannot survive here." "I survive because I choose to," he said, his eyes locking on hers. "I do not care for your laws, your throne, or your rules. I care for you. And if standing here makes me die tomorrow, I will die knowing I tried, knowing I stood for you when no one else would." The queen's chest tightened. She had never felt such raw, unshielded courage. Her people had seen her as untouchable, as flawless, but she was trembling. And he, this human, was the cause. His determination, his stubborn bravery, cut through the centuries of her armor. An advisor stepped forward, his voice sharp and authoritative. "Your Majesty, this is madness. A human cannot claim you. It is illegal, unthinkable. Do you not see the chaos he brings?" The queen turned to him, her voice icy. "Do you not see the truth?" Her eyes snapped back to the human. "He stands before me, unafraid of death, unafraid of you, unafraid of me. He stands because he loves me, and that terrifies me more than any army ever could." The human took a slow, careful step toward her. "I will fight for you. I will prove myself not to your court, but to your heart. If you reject me, I will leave, but know this, no force in this galaxy can erase what I feel. You are mine if you will allow it." A hush fell over the court. The queen's hand trembled as she raised it to her chest, feeling the wild, furious beating of her heart. Every logical part of her screamed danger, screamed betrayal of tradition, screamed for her to banish him immediately. And yet, every corner of her being, every secret longing she had buried beneath centuries of duty, screamed his name. Then the decree, ancient and omnipotent, spoke again, vibrating through the palace. "The claimant may be tested. If his heart is true, the queen may choose. If his heart falters, the throne remains untouched." The crowd murmured. The advisors froze. The queen felt the weight of the universe pressing down on her. This test, it was impossible. The decree never allowed humans near the throne, let alone for love. And yet somehow here it was, bending for him, for this one stubborn, soaked, defiant human who refused to back down. Her eyes searched his, looking for fear, for doubt, for weakness. But all she saw was fire. A raw, human fire that could either consume or illuminate everything. "You will be tested," she said finally, her voice trembling but firm. "If you survive, if your heart proves unyielding, then you may remain. But if you fail, you die." He nodded, and in that nod she saw something breathtaking. No hesitation, no fear, only love, only choice, only him. And in that moment the queen realized that perhaps she had been waiting for him, not for centuries, not for the law, but for this, for someone who could make her heart defy reason. The first challenge of the decree would come at dawn, a test unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. And as the human knelt before her, drenched and trembling yet unbroken, she felt something she had not allowed herself to feel for centuries. Hope. Hope and a fear so deep it made her shiver. Dawn broke over with a trembling light, soft and strange, filtering through the alien spires. The air shimmered with energy, vibrating as though the very world was aware of the trial about to unfold. The human stood at the center of the test arena, drenched from the previous storm but unbowed, his chest rising and falling with determination. The queen watched from her elevated throne, her heart hammering so fiercely she feared it would burst. The court gathered in silent anticipation. Advisors, warriors, and citizens alike held their breath. No human had ever stood here, and no human had ever been tested by the decree. The air was electric with disbelief, curiosity, and fear. A deep, resonant voice filled the arena. The claimant must face his heart's truth. Only if it does not falter shall the Queen's choice be valid, fail, and perish. The arena floor split open, revealing a swirling void beneath, glowing with dark energy. Shadows stretched like reaching hands, whispering in alien tongues that only heightened the human's unease. This was no ordinary test. This was a trial of spirit, courage, and love. He did not flinch. His eyes were fixed on the throne where the Queen sat, her face pale but radiant, her eyes glistening with unspoken emotion. He knew he could not fail, not for himself, not for her. The first wave of the test arrived. Illusions. The void projected visions of her, her voice calling to him in despair, her body falling into danger, her heart turning cold and rejecting him. Each vision struck like a dagger. "Leave me," one vision cried, a mirror of the fear he had buried deep inside. "I am not yours, you cannot protect me." He faltered for a heartbeat, his knees shaking. But then he saw her, not the illusions, not the projections, but the real Queen watching him, trusting him. He remembered her eyes that had looked at him with hope, with need, with a vulnerability she showed to no one else. He drew a deep breath and shouted, "No, I do not abandon what I love. I do not falter for illusions. I stand for you." The shadows recoiled, hissing, the void itself trembling at his defiance. He could feel his heart pounding, his blood racing, but he did not step back. Each vision of despair came at him, 1,000 times worse than the last, threats of death, failure, rejection, but he faced them all with unyielding courage. The Queen felt her chest tighten as she watched him. Every fiber of her being wanted to rush to him, to shield him from the invisible horrors. But she stayed rooted, torn between law, duty, and the fire burning in her heart. She realized she was holding her breath, praying silently for him to survive, not just for her, but because she had never believed in courage like this, raw and pure, outside her own kind. Suddenly the illusions intensified. The shadows formed into monstrous versions of him, skeletal, broken, screaming. "You cannot win, you are human, you are weak, you are nothing." The human's legs quaked under the weight of fear, but he closed his eyes and thought of her. Her laughter, her gaze, the strength she hid beneath her calm. "I am human," he admitted aloud, voice steady now, "and I am weak, but my heart is strong, strong for her, strong for love, and that will be enough." A bright light erupted from the void, blinding the arena. The illusions screamed and dissolved, leaving the human standing alone, trembling but alive. Silence hung heavy until the decree's voice returned. "The heart is true. The claim is valid." The court gasped. Murmurs spread like wildfire. The impossible had happened. A human, a fragile outsider, had passed the first trial, surviving a test no warrior had dared face. The Queen's knees weakened. Tears slid down her cheeks as she descended from her throne and ran toward him, ignoring protocol, ignoring the stunned gasps of her court. She stopped before him, staring into his eyes, which burned with exhaustion, pride, and love. You survived," she whispered, her voice shaking. "You actually survived." He smiled, a small, weary smile, and took her hand gently. "Because of you, for you." Her tears fell freely, and for the first time in centuries, she allowed herself to feel the depth of her own heart, the fear, the longing, the desperate need to trust someone entirely. "Then, perhaps," she whispered, "perhaps this impossible thing could be real." The decree had spoken. The first trial was over, but the human knew there were more challenges ahead. Yet, for now, he allowed himself a single precious victory, the knowledge that he had stood, unbroken, for the woman who had captured his heart across the stars. And the Queen realized that perhaps, for the first time, she had found someone worthy of standing beside her. Not as a subject, not as a guard, but as a partner, a soul tethered to hers in a bond stronger than law or galaxy. The celebration in the palace was short-lived. The court was a storm unto itself, buzzing with fear, envy, and disbelief. No one could ignore what had happened. A human had survived the first trial, passing a test meant to break even the strongest of warriors. Whispers spread like wildfire. Some called him a miracle. Others whispered of treason, madness, and a disaster waiting to strike. The queen walked through the grand hall, her hand still resting lightly on the human's arm. Her heart raced, a mixture of pride, fear, and something tender she had not named in centuries. People bowed, some in awe, some with suspicion. She felt their judgment pressing on her, a weight heavier than any crown. "You've upset the balance," said one advisor sharply, stepping forward. His voice was venomous, but his eyes betrayed unease. "Do you not see what you've done? Allowing this human to stand beside you invites chaos. What of the law? What of our people? He is an outsider." The queen's eyes flared, her voice calm but edged with fire. "And yet he has proven his heart true. The decree has spoken. The law allows it, and I will decide my own choice, not one dictated by fear." The human remained silent beside her, aware of every glance, every whisper. He had expected this. Love, he realized, was not only courage in the face of danger, but also standing firm when the world doubted him. And the queen, she needed him now more than ever, even if she did not realize it. Later that evening, in the quiet of the palace garden, the human took her hand. Moonlight spilled over alien flowers, casting silver reflections across the crystalline paths. "They do not understand us," he said softly. "But we do. You and I, we understand what it means to choose, to fight for love even when the universe says no." The queen looked down, her fingers trembling where they touched his. "I fear them. I fear the court, the advisors, even my own people. They will never accept you. Perhaps even I," her voice broke. "Perhaps I cannot fully accept that this is real." He tilted her chin up gently. "Real is what we make it. Real is my heart standing here, refusing to move, refusing to give up. Real is you choosing to look at me, choosing to see me beyond all the fear and law. That is real." Her chest tightened. Never before had anyone spoken to her with such clarity, such conviction. Her heart, usually guarded behind walls built over centuries, ached with longing and hope. She wanted to believe. She wanted to leap into the unknown with him, but doubt lingered like a shadow she could not shake. The next day brought the second trial. Unlike the first, this one was not a test of courage or spirit. It was a test of the court itself. Jealous nobles, rival claimants, and scheming advisors had petitioned the decree to create challenges of diplomacy, wit, and cunning. The human would have to survive not only the law, but the wrath and cunning of an entire court determined to see him fail. The arena for the second trial was a massive chamber, lined with mirrors that reflected every move, every expression. Illusions would be replaced by manipulation, traps, and subtle schemes meant to ensnare him. The advisors whispered instructions to shadowy figures hidden in corners. Each step he took would be observed, judged, and twisted. The queen stood at the gallery, watching, her hands clenched at her chest. "Do not let them break you," she whispered, more to herself than to him. She could feel her pulse racing, the bond between them pulsing stronger than law or fear. The human stepped into the chamber, his gaze steady, his body tense. Every whisper, every hidden trick, every trap designed to humiliate or destroy him would face him. And he would not falter, not for the court, not for fear, not even for death. Because he had chosen her. And choosing her meant standing against a galaxy that told him he could not belong, that humans were weak and love was forbidden. He could feel the weight of the court pressing down, but for the first time in his life, he knew he was strong, not because of his body, not because of skill, but because of something deeper. Something only humans could possess, an unshakable heart, unwavering in love. And as the doors of the chamber closed behind him, and the mirrors shimmered with subtle malice, he whispered to himself, "I will survive. For her, always for her." The chamber was alive with whispers that no one could hear. Mirrors lined every wall, reflecting the human 100 times, making him look small, fragile, and foolish. But he refused to falter. Every reflection reminded him of the stakes, the woman he loved, the queen who had chosen to see him not as a human, but as a man worthy of her heart. The first trap came quickly. A mirror shifted, and suddenly he was surrounded by phantom versions of the court. Each figure stepped forward, whispering lies and doubts. "You are weak. You do not belong. She will abandon you." His chest tightened. He wanted to turn to run, but he forced himself to stand tall. "I do belong," he said aloud, his voice echoing against the glass. "I belong because I choose to stand. I belong because I love her, and that is stronger than any law, any court, any fear. The illusions recoiled, flickering as if confused. Shadows of the advisors lurked in the corners, their faces twisted with anger. They had not expected him to fight not with swords or strength, but with heart. Then the second challenge revealed itself. A mirror fractured into 1,000 sharp shards, each reflecting a fear from his past, loss, betrayal, failure. The shards floated, spinning slowly in the air, and he felt their weight pressing against his chest. His legs shook. He remembered the night he had lost his home, the screams of people he couldn't save, the emptiness of loneliness that had followed him across galaxies. Tears threatened his eyes, but he clenched his fists. "No," he shouted. "I am not afraid. I have carried pain before, and I have survived. I have loved before, and I will fight again. This is nothing compared to her." The shards shattered into harmless dust, vanishing in a shimmer of light. The human had not only survived, but had transformed fear into strength. A quiet murmur ran through the court, unheard by him but felt by the queen. Even the decree seemed to hum with acknowledgement. Heart true, claim valid. But the court was not done. A whispering advisor moved closer unseen, attempting one final test, a trap of betrayal. A holographic figure of the queen appeared before him, looking sorrowful, shaking her head. "He is not worthy. Leave now, or she will perish because of you." The human froze for a heartbeat, his heart twisting. But then he remembered the real queen, her gaze firm, unwavering, filled with trust. The voice of doubt faded. "No," he said, voice low but certain. "I will not turn away. I will protect her. I will stand for her. I will survive because I love her." The illusion shattered like glass. The chamber was silent. Even the shadows of the court's schemers seemed to recoil. They had tested him in every way they could imagine, and he had survived, not through cunning or weapons, but through love, courage, and the sheer will to protect the one he adored. The doors of the chamber opened, and the human stepped out, exhausted, bruised, but unbroken. The queen ran to him, throwing herself into his arms. She pressed her face against his chest, feeling the rapid beat of his heart, the warmth of his body, the steady pulse of life and love that had every law of. You did it," she whispered, voice trembling with tears. "You survived them all, my people, the trials, the court, and even the decree itself bends for you." She choked, unable to find words, but her tears spoke louder than any speech could. He held her gently, brushing a wet strand of hair from her face. "I did it for you," he said simply. "Every step, every fear, every trial for you, because I cannot exist in a world without you." The queen's hands trembled as she held his face, looking into eyes filled with raw, unyielding emotion. "And I cannot exist without you," she admitted, her voice breaking. "You have opened something in me I thought was buried forever: hope, love, courage, everything I am I owe to you." The court fell silent. Even the skeptics could not deny it now. The human had proven himself. Not a warrior by birth, not a ruler by law, but a champion of the heart. And in that moment the queen realized the truth. Love, courage, and humanity could conquer even the most impossible rules. The decree hummed in acknowledgement, the final verdict clear. Heart true, claim validated, the queen may choose. And the queen, tears streaking her face, whispered a word that changed everything. "Stay." The human smiled, exhausted and emotional, taking her hand in his. "Always." The palace was silent that night. The stars outside burned brighter than ever, reflecting in the crystal spires like a million tiny diamonds. The queen sat alone in her private chamber, her hands resting on the cold edge of her throne. Her mind raced, 1,000 thoughts colliding at once. Every eye in the court had watched the human survive the trials, yet she still felt the weight of the universe pressing down on her. He had passed the trials, yes, but now came the hardest test, the one no law or decree could dictate. The choice. Her choice. Her heart screamed for him, but her mind clung to the remnants of tradition and expectation. A soft knock at the door broke her reverie. He stepped inside, soaked from the garden fountain where he had waited hours, brushing rain-like mist from his hair. His eyes, burning with exhaustion and resolve, met hers, and for a moment the world outside faded. "You have survived everything they could throw at you," she said, voice trembling. "The trials, the court, even the decree itself, and yet I feel as if the hardest part is still to come." He stepped closer, taking her hand gently. "The hardest part is not for me," he said softly. "It is for you, you must choose. But know this, whatever you decide, I do not regret standing here, loving you or claiming my place. My heart is yours now and forever." Her breath caught. She had never heard anyone speak like that to her, not a soldier, not a diplomat, not even a trusted advisor. Every word cut deeper than a sword and filled her chest with warmth. She wanted to believe, to surrender, but fear lingered, whispering that the court, the galaxy, the laws, all of it, would never forgive them. He noticed the hesitation. Do not fear them, do not fear the consequences. Love is the only thing that matters, everything else is noise. Tears blurred her vision. She had spent centuries ruling, guarding her heart, bending the decree to keep herself safe. And now here he was, a human, fragile and defiant, showing her a way she had never imagined. A way that meant freedom, courage, and love beyond reason. "You make it sound so easy," she whispered, her voice shaking. "To choose someone who is not of our kind, to defy everything we have ever known." "It is not easy," he admitted, voice soft but unwavering. "Nothing worth having ever is, but I will stand with you through it all. We will face the court together, we will face the galaxy together. I am not asking you to choose me because it is easy, I am asking because it is true. And truth, love, that is the only law that matters now." Her chest ached, her mind raced. The universe, the decree, and every voice she had ever trusted screamed caution. But her heart had already decided. It had chosen him the moment he claimed her, the moment he had survived impossible trials, the moment he had stood unbroken, unafraid, and entirely devoted to her. She took a trembling step forward, closing the distance between them. She cupped his face, feeling the warmth of his skin, the steady pulse of life that had fought through every test. Then I choose you," she whispered, tears streaking her face. "I choose you over fear, over law, over everything. I choose love." He closed his eyes and pressed his forehead to hers. "And I will choose you every day for the rest of my life," he said. "No court, no galaxy, no storm can ever take this from us." The chamber seemed to sigh, the energy of itself shifting in acknowledgement. The decree pulsed softly, approving, bending around their love rather than against it. The impossible had become reality. A human, an outsider, had claimed the heart of the queen and earned her eternal choice. For the first time in centuries, she allowed herself to feel unguarded. She rested her head against his chest, listening to his heart beat in rhythm with hers. "You've changed everything," she said softly, voice full of wonder. "You've made me believe in hope, in love, in courage, in humanity." He smiled, brushing her hair from her face, his thumb tracing the tear-streaked skin. "No, you've made me human, you've made me strong. You've given me a home, a place beside you." And in that quiet moment, with stars shining outside and the decree bending to their hearts, the queen and the human knew one truth above all. Love could conquer the impossible. Love could rewrite the law. Love could defy the galaxy itself. And together they would face whatever came next, unbroken, unstoppable, and bound by a bond that neither time, law, nor fear could sever. The palace square was alive with whispers, the air thick with anticipation. News of the humans' triumph and the queen's choice had spread like wildfire, reaching every corner of. Citizens, advisors, and warriors alike gathered, unsure whether to celebrate or condemn. They had never seen anything like this, a human, small and fragile in appearance, standing as the equal of their immortal, unyielding queen. The queen stepped onto the balcony, her flowing gown shimmering in the sunlight. Beside her stood the human, tall now in confidence and spirit, his chest still rising from exhaustion but radiating strength. His presence alone carried the quiet defiance of someone who had faced every trial and survived, not because of power, but because of love. A hush fell over the crowd. Every eye was on them, every whisper paused in anticipation. The human turned toward the queen, bowing his head respectfully, yet his gaze never wavered. She placed her hand lightly on his, fingers intertwining, a silent acknowledgement of their bond. The decree, ancient and inflexible for centuries, pulsed above them in radiant energy. The queen's choice is acknowledged. The claimant is validated. Let unity and love prevail. Gasps ran through the court. Even the skeptics, the jealous advisors, could not deny the truth now. The human had proven himself at every step, enduring trials of heart, mind, and spirit. And the queen, she had chosen him freely, with full awareness of risk, law, and consequence. One of the older advisors stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Your Majesty, we see now, he is not merely a human, he is extraordinary. The decree has recognized him. And if the queen chooses him, who are we to oppose?" The crowd shifted, murmurs turning from doubt to awe. Children whispered in excitement. Warriors nodded silently, their respect earned. The queen's eyes sparkled, tears threatening again as she took a step toward him. "My people," she began, her voice strong and clear, carrying across the square. "I have ruled this kingdom for centuries, bound by law and tradition. But today I am choosing something greater. I am choosing love, courage, and truth. I am choosing the human who stood by me unbroken, unyielding, and brave beyond measure. Let it be known, this man is no longer merely a claimant. He is my partner, my equal, and my husband." The crowd erupted in mixed reactions, gasps, cheers, awe, but she held up her hand, silence returning. Her gaze locked on him, softening. "And for those who doubt the power of love, let this day be a lesson. Courage, loyalty, and heart are the greatest forces in the universe. They are stronger than law, stronger than tradition, stronger than fear." The human stepped forward, bowing his head once more before rising to meet her gaze. "I am honored," he said simply. "Not for the throne, not for power, but because I am with her. For every challenge, every star I crossed, every danger I faced, it was all for this moment to stand beside the queen I love." The queen smiled, tears streaming freely now. She reached up, cupping his face, pressing her forehead to his. "And I love you," she whispered. "I love you more than any law, more than any star, more than myself. You have changed me, awakened me, and made me whole." A collective gasp ran through the crowd as she leaned forward and kissed him. It was not a simple gesture. It was a declaration, a promise, a union that tradition and rewrote the rules of the galaxy. The sun glinted off her crown, the energy of the decree pulsing around them, as if the universe itself celebrated the impossible love that had just been forged. The human held her tightly, feeling the warmth, the life, the bond they had fought so hard to claim. "Together," he murmured, "we can face anything, always together." "Yes," she agreed, her voice firm and filled with emotion. "Together we will face the universe, hand in hand, heart to heart. Nothing can separate us, not law, not fear, not time itself." The court watched in awe as the impossible became reality. A human had claimed his place beside the queen, not through force, not through deception, but through courage, love, and unwavering heart. And the queen, finally free to follow her heart, had chosen him without hesitation. As the sun dipped lower, painting the crystal city in hues of gold and violet, they stood together on the balcony, the galaxy stretching endlessly around them. Citizens cheered, warriors bowed, and even the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if blessing the union. For the first time had witnessed a love that law, fear, and conquered all obstacles. And in that love, the queen and her human found a world worth ruling, a future worth living, and a bond that would last beyond the stars themselves. Together, unbroken, unstoppable,